Sunday's first video for you. New stories from Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Somalia. Firstly, Somalia viewers. Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud visited United Arab Emirates last month on his first official visit abroad. He was there last month, and during his visit of UAE, rumors were spread that he traveled to Israel, that Somalia was about to recognize Israel. Later, Villa Somalia spokesperson denied and rejected these rumors. But a few hours ago, an Israeli news source shared some information about contacts between Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud government and Israeli government. Is Somalia going to recognize Israel? Second news story is about Jaal Marro, Oromo Liberation Army commander. A few hours ago, he appeared, he was interviewed by a news source, audio interview. What did he say? Third news story is about Ethiopian wheat production, Ethiopian vegetables, cereals production. It is said, especially by Ethiopian PM Abiy, that wheat production has increased significantly in Ethiopia. International media is not covering this groundbreaking development in Ethiopia. Today, we have statistics for you. We have information showing wheat production in the last 20 years and vegetable production in the last 20 years. It seems that in the last 3 to 4 years, there hasn't been any significant increase in wheat production in Ethiopia. The increase was before 2017, between 2002 and 2016, there was tremendous increase in wheat production, in vegetable production. We have statistics for you. Lastly, Agatha Choreda, Tigray presidential spokesperson, a few hours ago shared observations of an analyst about Tigray-Ethiopia talks on his Twitter timeline. He seems to be agreeing with the observations of this analyst about the future of talks between Ethiopian federal government and Tigray regional government. What did the analyst say? And can we conclude that the things the claims made by the analyst are Gatha Choreda's views? Firstly, viewers, Somalia Israel ties. Israel is unrecognized. Somalia doesn't recognize Israel as a country. But we have seen that in recent years, in the last 2 years, several Muslim countries have normalized ties with Israel. In 2021, I think, Abraham Accords was signed between the UAE, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Israel with the mediation of Donald Trump, former president of the US, and UAE normalized relations with Israel. Then Morocco followed suit, and after that Sudan also normalized ties with Israel. So in recent months, within the last 2 years, some Muslim countries have normalized relations with Israel. Somalia is reportedly in talks with Israel. Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud, Somalia's president, visited the UAE last month. And there, reportedly, he had some contacts with Israeli officials too. Times of Israel is an Israeli news source. It claimed a few hours ago that Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud and some Israeli officials contacted during Hassan Sheikh's visit of UAE a few days ago. And Hassan Sheikh government is going to consult Somalia's parliament in coming days to recognize Israel as a country. The question is, will Somalia's parliament approve this move or not? But Hassan Sheikh government seems interested in normalization of ties with Israel, and UAE could be playing a mediatory role between Israel and Somalia. According to Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud spokesperson, Villa Somalia spokesperson, quoted by Times of Israel, Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud government will consult the parliament in coming days. Let's see, will Somalia recognize Israel? What is going to be the reaction of opposition parties if Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud government shows its intent to recognize Israel? That remains to be seen. It seems that UAE is playing a role in normalization of relations between Israel and Somalia. Secondly, viewers, second news story is about an interview of Jaal Marro, OLA's commander, pronounced dead several times in the past, but he keeps on reappearing. A few hours ago, he was interviewed by a non-Oromo news source. He talked about several key points, especially civilian killings. Firstly, he talked about Hachalo's murder. He said that he knew who killed Hachalo, iconic Oromo singer, and who ordered the killing. But he said that he would disclose all this on right time. A few days ago, Hangasa Ibrahim, a member of parliament, member of Prosperity Party from Oromia region, made similar claims. He also said that he knew who killed Hachalo. If all these people, Jaal Marro, Hangasa Ibrahim, they know who killed Hachalo, why don't they come up and explain to the people? Hachalo's death is still a mystery. No one knows who was behind this death. If these people know, why don't they tell the public who was behind Hachalo's murder? Jaal Marro says he knows who killed Hachalo. Secondly, he said that civilian killings in Oromia were being committed by government forces. Whenever government forces suffer losses, to hide its losses, to hide its defeat, government forces attack civilians to frame Oromo Liberation Army. OLA is open to investigations, not by Ethiopian biased bodies, but some internationally mandated independent mechanism. OLA is ready for any fair independent investigation into civilian killings in Oromia, but he condemned all civilian killings. He said civilian killings must stop in Oromia and elsewhere in Ethiopia. He elaborated on a 2018 disarmament deal. In 2018, members around 1,000 members of Oromo Liberation Front were disarmed. An Oromo technical committee was formed with 71 members. the committee decided that OLA should be disarmed. It should be part of political scene. It should be a political party. The 1,000 OLA fighters who were disarmed, they were arrested by government forces. And OLA's commander Jaal Marro claimed in the interview that these thousands of former OLF fighters are being retrained and launched into military operation and launched for civilian killings in Oromia. And these government trained former OLF fighters are involved in civilian killings to frame Oromo Liberation Army, to defame Oromo Liberation Army. A very important revelation by Jaal Marro. And lastly, he said there is heavy presence of Eritrean soldiers and Eritrean intelligence officials in Ethiopia. Ethiopian security and intelligence apparatus has been penetrated by Eritrean intelligence agents and their soldiers. The presence of soldiers is public, everyone knows, but intelligence officials of Eritrea are also operating in Ethiopia, in Oromia region of Ethiopia. So once again, OLA denied being involved in any civilian killings. On the other hand, Ethiopian federal government, Oromia regional government, Amhara regional government, all accuse OLA that it is behind recent massacres committed in Velaga, in Gimbi, Tole, in Kalam a while ago. So what is required is some independent investigation. Question is, will such investigation be conducted or not? Thirdly, was very important news story. Ethiopian federal government led by PM Abiy takes pride in increased wheat production in Ethiopia. That Ethiopia has made tremendous progress, but international media always shares negative news on Ethiopia. But what we have learned is that the progress which was made in terms of wheat production, vegetable production, it was made between 2002 and 2017, before the arrival of PM Abiy on political scene. Not political scene, before PM Abiy came to power in 2018. We have comparative wheat production statistics for you, wheat and vegetable production statistics for you. Have a look at this graph. You can see wheat production in Ethiopia in the last 20 years, around 20 years. And you would see here that in the last 3 years, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, there hasn't been any significant increase in wheat production. This orange color bar shows wheat production and blue bar shows maize production. So no considerable change in the length of orange and maize bars. It means that in 2017, 18, 19, 20, there hasn't been any significant increase in wheat production. And I checked 2021 stats as well a few hours ago, not shown here. 2021, 2020, no significant change. So whatever progress was made, it was made between 2002 and 2017, 2016 you can say. Same is the case with vegetable production. You can see this second graph showing vegetable production in Ethiopia between 2002 and 2019, 2020. Here again you would see that no significant progress in the last 3 to 4 years. Progress was made between 2002 and 2016, 2017. So, within the last 3 to 4 years, there has been no considerable increase in wheat production. Rather, wheat production has been stagnated in Ethiopia. Progress was made prior to PM Abiy's taking office in 2018. Lastly, was Getachew, the Tigray presidential spokesperson, is now speaking indirectly about talks between Ethiopian federal government and Tigray regional government. Will talks be held? Are talks imminent? What are Getachew's views? He's not sharing his own views, but he's sharing views of an analyst. He shared tweets of an analyst on his Twitter timeline a few hours ago. He seems to be endorsing the opinion of this analyst about talks. What did the analyst say about talks between Tigray and Ethiopian leaders? The analyst claims that talks are not imminent. Why? There are differences regarding the venue of talks and who will be mediator. So there are two main sticking points. Secondly, Kenya is busy with elections. In August, presidential election will be held in Kenya. Joe Biden is busy with the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So no one is specifically focused on Tigray. Secondly, yes, there are talks between Tigray Defense Force and Ethiopian National Defense Force. But this contact is to avert a major confrontation, of war. These contacts are not related to start of any talks. Thirdly, the analyst claims that PM Abiy is buying time. And US does not have leverage to put pressure upon Ethiopian PM Abiy. UAE has more leverage. Turkey has more leverage. So Turkey, UAE should be involved to accelerate the process of talks. Otherwise, there are no imminent talks between the two rival parties in coming days. And the analyst is recommending that US government should press ahead with HR 6600 and S 3199, two bills pending at US House and US Senate, which propose sanctions on Ethiopian and Eritrean governments. So the analyst is proposing that more US pressure should be exerted upon PM Abiy's government in the form of sanctions. Otherwise, PM Abiy's government is buying time. Getachew shared all the tweets of this analyst on his Twitter timeline. So he seems to be endorsing the opinion of this analyst. Ethiopian federal government has formed a committee. It has announced the name, 7-member committee to talk with Tigray government. But Tigray has not formed any committee so far. Secondly, Tigray wants resumption of basic services in Tigray before the start of talks. Resumption of banking service, resumption of telecom and electricity. So there are delays, but both parties are behind this delay. At least Tigray should announce the formation of a committee. Tigray has made it clear that it will only talk in Kenya or under the auspices of Kenya. But at least Tigray should form a committee to reciprocate what has been done by Ethiopian federal government. Thank you for watching.